Come with me to try the Yuzu Pepperoni Cup Ranch Vodka Pasta at Sausage Hole Collective. This charming windowless food shack is a gem in the crown of Las Vegas, North Ohio. Tonight, we're here to try their Dubai chocolate cream cheese everything bagel cinnamon bun. And you can't leave without going to Breakup Bang's Burger House right next door and trying their Carna burger with extra vor sauce. These two local favorites hit the spot every time. TBTL!
I don't ever saw Baragas. That's an intergalactic space greeting. It means hello, space brothers.
Do not put that on the imaginary radio show.
I don't know if it's video games or what, but it's so unfair to, after something like this, to blame people in the backseat or say they deserved it.
I don't know who that is, and I don't care to find out.
Oh, I get it. You're joking. See, I'm cool. I get jokes.
Listen, please, please, please. If anybody doesn't know the difference between a Valance and a Jabot, I really need you to leave.
Shh. I get it. I know who you are. It's been explained to me. I'm into it. Let's talk.
All right. Hello, good morning, and welcome, everyone, to a Thursday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
You can do whatever you want to in life, but just make sure you do it well and you do it with passion.
My name's Luke Burbank. I am your host.
I like turtles.
Coming to you from Los Angeles, California.
California got sunshine.
Specifically the Hollywood area, specifically the intersection of Wilcox and Sunset, where we still do not have much clarity on what the deal is with Hit Boy. But we know a lot of other things, and we're going to talk about them today on the program. If you're scoring at home, it's episode 4,747 in a collector's series.
Let the fun begin.
That's a lot of episodes of a podcast. So much so that when I was explaining this yesterday to some of the folks that work on the Office Hours Live program, which is also, I guess, effectively a podcast. It's a streaming live show that then exists in podcast form. I was telling them how many episodes we've done, and they were pretty amazed. So that made me feel kind of good when I got to watch them make their program, which is, I have to say, elite level of stuff.
A beautifully wrapped, glossy, sweet-smelling show.
Did leave me with serious drops envy, which we'll get into. And I got to interview Tim Heidecker, who's a big comedy hero of ours around here.
Targus.
So it was a fun day, and we're going to have a fun show here, though, because it's a Thursday, a.k.a. Blur's Day.
My birthday today.
Do the Blur's Day messages, and we're going to talk to this guy. He's the longest-running co-bro of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. We're interrupting his typical Thursday morning routine.
I'm just sitting there on my iPod.
But he's taking it pretty well. He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. I'm sorry to start the show on a little bit of a bummer note, but you promised me that if we arranged it to send you to L.A. again, you would tell us what is up with Hit Boy. You said this time I will get to the bottom of Hit Boy. And now you're starting the show by saying no updates?
No updates on what the deal is with Hit Boy. I still haven't tasted the 310 Baby Fire Shrimp Pasta. The other thing that is prominently displayed here in the part of Hollywood where I tend to stay now. Yeah, for people that don't know what in the world I was talking about, they've had these couple of billboards up around here for like the last 6 to 8 months. Every time I come back down, I wonder if this will be the trip where they've swapped them out, and it turns out, no.
Are you hoping that they swap it out with a billboard that says, "We figured out what's the deal with Hit Boy"? Oh, I see. You know what it is. He's got a song called "What's the Deal." Did we already Google this? Did we already know that?
I think maybe the first reference, which I'd say was 8 months ago, I think we may have. I have something more interesting than Hit Boy even unfolding here in front of my eyes, Andrew, which is, remember when I had my adult skateboarding phase?
Oh, yeah. What's up, fellow youth? Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it went, I'd say, okay. Sometimes it was kind of fun. Sometimes I fell down in Portland, Oregon while wearing an enormous backpack that had all my stuff in it when I got caught up on a Max line kind of railway that was, I could have gotten some sweet moolah out of that. That seems to be a big source of lawsuits in the Seattle area, is people riding their bikes and then getting caught up in those kind of embedded tracks that are kind of at street level, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that was a big thing with like kind of an area of the Burke-Gilman, right? Or where the Burke-Gilman ended. Yes.
Yeah, there's just that's kind of dangerous. I hit one of those on my skateboard and fell down and kind of hurt myself, but it would be too embarrassing for me to try to pursue legal action against the city of Portland. They say, "Well, sir, what were you doing?" I was like, "Well, I was skateboarding as a 46-year-old man." Okay, but you didn't have like a really heavy backpack on, throwing your already shaky balance all the way off. And I would say, well, actually, yes, that was also happening. And I believe the judge would slam their gavel down and say, "Order in the court. I'm dismissing the case."
In your defense, the backpack was only filled with about 50 cans of Hungry Man soup, I believe. Just like the
that was during my all Hungry Man soup.
The hamburger soup that I sometimes see in the grocery store. Who was the politician who just loved snacking?
Ted Cruz.
It was Ted Cruz. That's right, Ted Cruz style cans of soup, just weighing you backwards.
I was thinking of my skateboarding phase because as we were talking, as we were beginning the program, I was watching a guy who looked definitely maybe older than I am even now, although it's hard to tell anymore because at age 50, as I've said before, my whole sense of what everyone else's age is really gets kind of thrown off. Like this guy, he was wearing a fedora. I'm not kidding you, by the way. He was wearing a fedora, and he was skateboarding down Wilcox, but he also looked very unsteady. So, I mean, he didn't fall, but he didn't look like he was in total control of the skateboard situation. It reminded me of my brief foray into skateboarding, both from an age standpoint and from a, let's just say, lack of mastery standpoint. And then he got down to the corner of Sunset and then crossed Sunset, again, looking like he was about to fall at any moment, but then somehow did not. He safely navigated over to the corner where the Staples is, which, by the way, I've got a great update on that. Balloons are here. Andrew, balloons are here at Staples. That's what we don't know what the deal is with Hit Boy, but we know that balloons are definitely here. This is the one sound effect thing I brought with me to L.A. Because they've got a party city now in this Staples. Yeah. And anyway, he got across the street, and then it appeared that he realized that he had used up all of his 9 lives on the skateboard journey down Wilcox, and he just picked up the skateboard and started walking with it. Like, he also was like, yeah, that was touch and go. Somehow I managed to pull this off without completely eating shit, but I'm not going to tempt fate any longer. I'm not going to pick up my skateboard and walk down Sunset with it. And I think I can say for all of us, that was a relief. I was really glad to see that he made that decision.
I like that he's out there. He'll probably put the skateboard down another time and try it, and then maybe hit his limit again and pick it up. And here's the deal.
I know a guy who's at his limit.
I know a guy who's at his limit. If you're expecting me to say something sarcastic here or turn this into a joke, I'm afraid that I don't have that in me. I'm just going to say something earnest, which is one of the things I really liked about Los Angeles. Like, obviously, I mean, what can one say about Los Angeles? It's like, it's one of the most iconic cities in the world, right? And it's got its reputations. But I also did like the kind of the casual cultures of it that I hadn't really contemplated before. And I liked the fact that you did see just all kinds of people using skateboards as transportation. Yeah. Like, that was just something that was just like a kind of a casual truth of LA. You could see a man in a business suit, probably not with a briefcase, but like maybe with a bag slung over his shoulder, just zipping down the street and stopping in at the Jamba Juice and then heading on to work or whatever. And like, I just saw that. And honestly, and I think we've talked about this, that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to get rollerblading down, like the art of rollerblading. Like, and we've brought it up recently on the show. I tried. I failed. I gave them to Goodwill, my rollerblades. But I loved how it wasn't like, hey, let's plan a rollerblading date. In LA, it just sort of seems like, well, I need to go somewhere, and it seems like some sort of wheels on my feet would make that a more fun or easy or faster trip, and I loved that.
Particularly over, like, you were working in Santa Monica, and I feel like there's a strong Santa Monica, Venice Beach culture of longboarding, of people on those very long skateboards that I think are sort of more stable, and people like to, sort of go up and down the various kind of like oceanside paved areas with those. That might have been better for me because I think I was still I was skating on an even smaller than normal skateboard, which was probably added to my sense of instability. But I'm with you. I mean, I was recently I don't want to say explain LA because that sounds very sort of pedantic, but I was talking to a woman backstage at Livewire who was in sort of music management and was working on behalf of our musical guest that week. And she had just moved to Los Angeles. And I was really trying to go to bat for LA as a city because she was saying, I never thought I would live in LA. I just didn't really, just was not, it was not on my bingo card, as you know, we say around here a lot. And I was trying to make the argument for LA, and I was having such a hard time putting it in words. Because I mean, I love this town. This is probably my favorite city in America for all of its, hassles and all the things about LA that are not ideal. And for me, of course, that is because it was the first city that I'd ever lived in that as an adult that wasn't Seattle. And it was a really fun, exciting time in my life. I had gotten this job at NPR. I was working with a bunch of people I really looked up to. I was getting all these new opportunities. It was sunny outside. Like, it just was this very magical time in my life, and it really made a strong impression on me. But as I was trying to kind of list the things that were good about LA, I was like, well, it's like there's just a lot of weird improvised shit going on because it's so poorly designed, which is not exactly a ringing endorsement. Like, I don't just think the chaotic parts of Los Angeles, where there's just kind of like people selling stuff out of the back of their car or just kind of like weird, crazy stores that I don't even understand what the business model is, like that's the part of LA that I really love. But when I was trying to explain it to this person or trying to kind of make the case for LA, I felt like language was really eluding me.
And not that this is super important, but I want to give love to my East Siders as well, because that example I gave of a businessman on a skateboard, that actually happened on Wilshire in my neighborhood. Like, I was just that wasn't actually just a random thing. I watched him go into the Jamba Juice, that I think it was a Jamba Juice or some sort of a smoothie place too. So it's not just the sort of surf scene there as well, but I started to like LA once I found myself in this job that I liked. I did not like LA at first because I didn't like my situation in LA, and I think I was pretty conscious of that. You and I were doing the show for a while, and I don't think that I ever I didn't take to LA the way you and Genevieve did. Like, you guys love it in your soul, but there are just factors, like the weather there doesn't, I just don't have a personality that matches the sunny weather constantly. And so, like, I really like Seattle. I like the changing of the seasons that are, a little bit more here and stuff. So I wasn't like predisposed to love LA, but also people who really dislike LA, I sort of feel like, are the people who I think it's really hard to be poor in LA. I think you've mentioned that before, because then you have to keep a car running in order to get from point A to point B because you're so dependent on car culture and stuff there. Or you might just be like thriving so hard, or striving, I should say, so hard to break into some industry, and maybe that doesn't spark as much joy. And I just was under a lot of stress my first year and a half there, and then I can't walk anywhere, can't walk to the grocery store. Well, it turns out, once I wasn't literally working or trying to get back and forth to work for 14 hours a day, I could walk to the grocery store. The city opened up for me, and I sort of feel like LA has a weirdly bad reputation from people who have never been there before.
Yes, the thing that I always say is it's often the biggest LA detractors in my experience are maybe people who visited one time and they were staying with somebody's they were staying with some extended family or some friend of a friend in one part of the area, but they were trying to go to a totally far away other part of the area on a Friday afternoon, which is utter madness around here, and just had a bad experience. Or they went to LA, but their big night out, they went to the Saddle Ranch bar on Sunset or something. They just kind of didn't have maybe the best experience, maybe because of not really knowing the lay of the land, and then just wrote it off as this, terrible city. The other people who really don't seem to like LA are people in New York and people in San Francisco. And I always think it's kind of funny because I don't feel like anyone in LA really has it out for any other cities. Because my thing I've always said is most people in LA are just too busy enjoying being in the sunshine to really give a lot of thought to San Francisco. There's a big rival, people in San Francisco that in my experience really like to be oh man, I got to go to LA this week. Wish me luck, you know? And it's like people in LA are like, if you say, oh, I'm going to San Francisco, they're like, cool. I love San Francisco. Like, I feel like in a way, LA is kind of a big Marmaduke of a town where being here, again, this is all through my lens of just really liking the city. It's like, it doesn't leave me a lot of room to be annoyed with other cities or think other cities suck because I'm just too busy picking up my balloons at Party City in the Staples because, as I mentioned, balloons are here.
I will say one thing that I noticed about LA when I was first there, and this might have been, this could be a characteristic of certain sectors of LA, or it could be the actual time I was there, which was about 10 years ago now. I think it was somebody asked me like, when were you in LA?
Say that to me. How dare you even say that?
I got a text or an email from a listener who was like, wait, you've been saying that you were in LA 10 years ago for like 10 years now. Like, when were you actually in LA? And it's like, well, maybe I've been rounding for a while, but I do think that I was there in 2014 and 2015. And this could have been just a cultural phenomenon going on at the time. But as a newbie there, and it also could be the people I was surrounded with, specifically at work, specifically maybe Madeline Brand. But I felt like we were doing a lot of stories that were sort of from a perspective of a chip on the shoulder of LA, which is not something I expected. But because of that perceived, like, sort of, I was going to say second city. They should call L.A. the second city, Luke. I'm having an idea here. But
second city.
It was like, I felt like I remember we had Moby on an interview to actually talk about the topic of, like, why there's so much hate for L.A. from people in New York. It sort of felt like L.A. couldn't, or at least the people I was talking to, there's this whole thing about, like, not being able to get over the fact that people looked down at LA if they were in New York, sort of. And that's what I'm having a little bit of trouble describing it. Not even, but I think you're absolutely right. I don't, and I think this is kind of part of that dialogue. I don't think people in LA are like, oh, New York sucks. I think LA is a little bit more like, LA is awesome. And it kind of, it sucks that people in New York think we have some sort of a rivalry or that they look down on us or whatever, which is the kind of media I grew up on. You know, you watch any, I mean, I probably watched too much Woody Allen or whatever in my early 20s or whatever. But like, there's, a huge narrative of New York based movies is just like those fruits and nuts and crazy traffic people in Los Angeles.
Right. Yeah. Like LA Story, even though that is about LA, but it's like I remember watching that movie. I feel like at the Oak Tree Cinema near your beloved SARS,
absolutely.
But it could have been somewhere else. I think I saw that with my friend Peter Williams and maybe like his parents, because it just seems like a weird movie for us to choose to go to, except it had Steve Martin in it, which is like, it's like, well, we like The Jerk. But anyway, I remember seeing that movie, and I think Sarah Jessica Parker's character is just like such a kind of a classically sort of out there kind of silly Los Angeles person.
Rollerblader, I think. I could be making that up, but she seems like she has that rollerblade energy.
Big B-R-E, big rollerblade. Is rollerblade one word, energy? Another part of this area that I actually love more than I would have thought, Andrew, is Glendale, California, where I was yesterday watching them film that show Office Hours live. And I mean, really and truly, like when I was living in LA, I liked Eagle Rock, I liked Atwater Village, I liked what I considered to be the sort of like hip suburbs, hip exurbs. I didn't give Glendale a ton of thought, and when they told me we're going out to where Heidecker actually lives and where they have this ADU, that's where they film the show, I was like, oh, Glendale, that's interesting, because again, I feel like to me Glendale was just not as like quote unquote cool as if you can describe a whole city or neighborhood in one way like that. But man, it's lovely out there. And he's got, let's just say, kind of got my dream house and kind of got, I wouldn't say my dream setup because I loved getting to do this show with you, Andrew, but it was very interesting for me to remember a couple weeks ago, I'm on the I'm now the podcast reporter for CBS Sunday Morning because I was out at the offices and studios of my favorite murder podcast people. And that was one whole kind of thing, just the how professional that looked. They had a really nice built out building and there was a lot of snacks and a lot of people walking around doing important seeming things. Like their building, the My Favorite Murder folks, I think it's called Exactly Right Media. That felt like NPR West to me, just like all of these glass cubed studios and offices and, like that kind of polished cement floor that tells you that you're in a cool future-looking industry. That was that vibe. This was totally different, and this was so much more like TBTL because I literally do my half of TBTL usually from the Madrona Hill studio, and that's where they're doing this show from Tim's house. Just the drops, the how much that show relies on just audio drops and stuff, as we do on our program a lot of the time, at least at the beginning of the show. And just kind of like the sense of humor, the all the people that were there, it felt to me like, and this is going to sound like I'm being wistful or I'm being kind of like I'm sad about TBTL. I'm really not, but it was like TBTL, but just on steroids in some way. Like it was so similar to what we do, except just with so many more people involved and such a bigger production. But it felt like it had similar DNA to our show, if that makes any kind of sense. Like the kind of DIY-ness of it and the kind of like in certain ways, just the whole energy of the show was really fun to get to watch. I was also very nervous because I was in a small way part of the show. I did not realize I was going to actually be like on camera sometimes. Like that wasn't, I was just there to watch them do the show because I'm a fan, or at least I'm interested in the show. But then afterwards I was going to sit down with Tim Heidecker and interview him about this thing, which is that, you know, he's going to be sort of the creative director of InfoWars, which is Alex Jones's old website. So that was really the point of the interview. It's not really about this show called Office Hours Live that he does. But then when I got there and I sat down, I realized, oh, I'm actually kind of part of the show in a very small way. So of course they like turn on the camera. One of the things is like one of the guys that works on the show is named Luke Burba. So I was sitting right behind him. He has the same first name as me and the same last name minus 2 letters.
It sounds like a Wordle clue, or not Wordle. It sounds like a connections clue.
If you took the last 2 letters off of my name, we would have the exact same name, which was just like a very bizarre sort of coincidence. But Heidecker was clearly struggling with it because he kept trying to remember my name, but calling me Luke Burba, but then calling me Luke Burbank, but then asking me my thoughts on Barry Weiss. And this is happening on the show. And I'm like, let me be judicious. Let me be diplomatic in how I'm coming off. But I was also trying to be fun.
You were mic'd up. I got a note from a listener. Somebody had texted the line and said, hey, it was good to see Luke on Office Hours Live. And I was like, oh, okay, so I knew you were visiting. And then I put it together. I was like, oh, they must just have, I mean, Luke, not unsimilar to the first time Vives and I visited you at TBTL at Cairo Radio. We didn't know you. We hadn't met you yet. But, like, we were still at some point, like, we were, like, just talking to you, I think, off mic or whatever. Just like, well, you're sitting here. I'm going to talk to you, right? Like, so I was like, oh, they must just sort of do the same thing.
Yes.
And the camera caught you, or maybe they were even focusing on you. I didn't realize that they were actually talking to you, though. So at some point, did somebody put a mic on you, or was it just sort of, like, off mic kind of sound?
The Luke Burba has in fact, you could say, I guess coincidentally, the very mic I'm talking to you right now into kind of like a Sennheiser handheld mic with a green little, you know, windscreen pea popper on it.
He had
which
the
is
green.
Also what I'm using
he has
to
the
talk to
green
you.
wind popper too, or the pea
Yes.
popper too. That is, wait, this is weird. Are you sure this wasn't part of an elaborate prank?
I mean,
that is literally the microphone. Like, I have photos of you using that microphone out in Australia. It's like, it is very noticeable, the green windscreen on that thing.
That's exactly the mic that they have for if Tim or somebody in the main room is addressing someone in the control room, they cut to this. They have like 1 million cameras going. And one of them that's just clipped on top of one of the computers in the control room is, they were joking about it off air, that it's just like a very old Microsoft, like, you know, webcam that you would like clip to your monitor or something. They were like only the finest, you know, for the control room. And then they just have like a handheld mic that can't really be passed around because the cord that it's on is too short. So Heidecker says something to me, and then the other Luke Burba, hands me the microphone that I'm very familiar with the appearance of because it's the same kind I use on the road. And I'm holding it, but I have to kind of hunch over because I can't actually pull it all the way to where I am. So I'm both like, I'm trying to seem cool and funny. I'm trying to not tick off my bosses in New York or whatever. I'm also not able to pull the microphone fully up to my mouth. And then when they've moved on and I give the mic back, the other Luke goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you the mic cable is way too short. Sorry about that." It's like that kind of stuff, which also just feels very TBTL in a way. I mean, again,
well, what did you say though? I'm very interested in because you even mentioned on the show the other day, you're like, I don't know, there's all this stuff swirling around CBS and Barry Weiss and 60 Minutes and all of that, and you're like, we haven't talked about it on the show because I don't really know what to say about it. I haven't formed any opinions. I'm doing my job, and just when I form opinions, you guys will be the first one to hear it. Now you're suddenly unprepared to be going on something that has even a slightly bigger footprint than our show, I would say, a bigger reach than our show.
Just barely.
And suddenly Tim Heidecker is putting a microphone in your face, asking you to crack wise about Barry Weiss. How can you tell us more about that? I mean, it's out there, I assume.
Well, so he literally opened his show saying it's a big day for us. CBS Mornings is here, which is not the name of our show, but that's okay. And then he's, because he's just riffing. It's not scripted or anything. And then he said something about Luke Burbank's here, and then said something like he's going to do that hard-hitting Scott Pelley interview with me or something. Who's the last person that you interviewed? And then they hand me the mic, and I'm like, I literally can't remember anyone I've interviewed ever in my life. You know what I mean? My mind goes completely blank because I was not, if I had 5 minutes to think about it, I could have come up with a quippy answer. But instead, I just completely blanked. And I think I said something like, I'm pretty excited to be here. I am going to be interviewing Keith Urban next week, not to brag. And then Tim Heidecker said, Andrew, wait for it. He said, what about Keith Rural? That's the joke that you made on the show the other day and said, you feel free to use that one around Heidecker, I think. Or no, you said feel free to use it around Keith Urban.
I actually wanted you to get to the bottom. I wanted you to ask Keith Urban about that.
I'm starting with Hit Boy and what the deal is with him, and then I'm going to move on to figuring out Keith Urban's name.
Really quick thing, just to go back to it really quickly. I looked up Hit Boy before while we were talking about it. You might be surprised to hear he has produced a lot of hits. He really has. He has produced one of my favorite Watch the Throne songs that I can't say the name of here because
Jay-Z
and Kanye.
Is it N-Words in Paris?
Exactly. He apparently produced that. He's produced 6
It would be funny if that was
records.
The song you were comfortable saying the name of. It was like a totally different track.
I didn't want to say Whitey, don't go there. But no, anyway, it's funny. He really is Hit Boy. But yeah, that is funny. I've been slipping Tim some notes. I was just kind of listen, I've worked with Luke for a long time. I know what tickles Luke's fancy. Try some of these jokes on him.
Yes. So he made the same joke as you. He said, what about Keith Rural or something? And then they moved on pretty quickly. That was my first little getting sort of introduced, and then, again, completely freezing up when he asked me who was the last person you interviewed or something. And so then things moved on. The other Luke said, oh, yeah, sorry, the mic cord is too short. I forgot to tell you. It's okay. And then we're just watching the show. And then they take a break. The show is 2 hours long, goes from 10 a.m. until noon West Coast typically on Thursdays, but they recorded yesterday because of some travel that Tim Heidecker has to do, which I thought, well, that also reminds me of a TBTL thing, recording something on a slightly different time window because of some kind of a conflict we have. But then as they were getting close to the break, they take a little break at 11 a.m. Then they decided, I can't remember why, but to talk to me again and say something like, I forget, Tim said something to me so what do you think of Barry Weiss? Or how's it working for Barry or whatever? And I said, that sounds like a really great topic for the second half of the show. Because we knew we were going to the break. And then everybody kind of laughed. And then he asked me one more extremely pointed question. And I said, another excellent second half of the show topic, and everybody laughed, and then that got me off the hook. So I didn't actually say anything in any particular direction, and then that was it. And then they did go to the break, and then so I was on very, very briefly for 2 moments of the show, and I don't think I exactly hit it out of the park, but I also didn't really. I don't think I embarrassed myself. I think realistically, I was a non-factor in the show that nobody would ever remember being on there, which is fine with me. That's better than I tried to make a joke and it really didn't land,
Yeah, no, that would have been the worst. That would be to walk away from that feeling oh, God damn it. Why did I say that thing? I was hoping by the way, that the second time you said great question for the second half of the show would have been in the second half of the show. That because I thought that maybe it was like they went to break, they came back, you're in the
That would
second
have
half
been
of the show,
very funny.
and then you're like, that's a great question for the second half of the show. What excites me most about that story is that idea of just like, oh well, we have somebody in the studio here, let's not ignore them, which was something that I'm pretty sure was like something that felt very TBTL to me when I was new in the TBTL verse, TBTL verse. What do we call it? The Tenaverse, whatever. And I love that. And Cairo too. I feel like there was a little bit of that with Cairo Radio too, just even hosting the talk shows there. Just kind of like, well, we have so-and-so here, like we might as well. Or the one time, like I think like some sheriff called me during a segment because they felt like I had represented some sort of litigation. They had a different take on it or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, put him on the line, and it wasn't super confrontational, but it was just kind of like, yeah, this thing is just sort of happening, and we're sorry, I'm having a thought here. I just heard something on the radio yesterday that
Never
I thought
apologize for having a thought, Andrew.
Well, I tried to spread them out, Luke. I don't want to. I already had one earlier today. Yeah, what are we going to do tomorrow? No, this is something that I just know that you'll agree with. But I was listening to one of the sports radio shows that's sort of constantly on in the background on my little AM radio in the kitchen on 710 ESPN, and I can't remember which show has Mora as a producer, and clearly the person who calls and sets up the guests as well. I think that might be Brock and Salk, and so you hear her. She's on the microphone for some segments or something. But what perked my ears up the other day was the guest said. They asked the guest a question on the air, and the guest said, "Oh yeah, well, like I was just telling Moro like when she was dialing me up or whatever," and then like that small little thing of the guest acknowledging that, yeah, I'm here on a radio show, and your producer Moro called me up, and I was just talking to her about that before you guys put me live on the air. Like somehow that very small, and it might just seem obvious, and might even not seem worth mentioning here, but having cut my teeth on public radio, where you just never used to, you don't do it at all mostly on public radio, but now there's sort of like kind of a little play acting, like they pull back the curtain, but it always feels a little fake to me. Whereas in commercial radio and stuff like this, it's just literally like, yeah, it adds a dimension. It adds another sort of layer of like the listener can just sort of get a more global sense of the operation in this very casual, almost seemingly unprofessional way.
Yeah, that's definitely the energy on Office Hours Live of like anything that's happening, anyone who's in the room or near the room could be pulled into it. I mean, it really felt to me like a morning radio show. And in fact, later when I was talking to Tim about it, just like not as part of the interview, but just casual, it's like, you're basically doing a morning show. He's like, yeah, exactly. Like, I just love morning radio, like good morning. He's a big Stern fan as well. And just like this idea that everything is fair game to talk about, and there's like the curtain is so far pulled back. Now, the reason I said that the two guys that play most of the drops on the show, well, really they play pretty much all of them, it's a guy named Vic Berger, who also just does like incredibly hilarious and weird, like short form video stuff all the time.
He was, wasn't he the kind of the editor on Awesome Job, Great Show, or whatever?
I think he was one of them, and I think he was, yeah, definitely. And he's had a few different like websites and things and stuff that I've like I'm following on Instagram now, and it's also just like the 10 funniest things I've seen in the last 3 days have been on Vic Berger's Instagram, because I started following him 3 days ago. But like he is playing drops. There's another guy named DJ Doug Pound who's playing drops, and they're using Farrago, Andrew. They're using the program that I use to play my little drops. And in fact, at one time I heard I don't know if I can play it right now because I'm on the road here, but like I'm listening to them do Office Hours Live, and I hear this. They use the same stock dog bark from Farrago.
Oh, did that come from Farrago? Preloaded. I don't think I knew that.
It's preloaded. So like, and then I was just hearing drops that they were just playing randomly, and I would recognize them as being like, oh, that comes with Farrago, doesn't it? And so then we went to when they did the break or whatever, I was just like, all I wanted to do was geek out with these two guys about audio drops and about like, just the systems that they use and how they organize them and everything. And like, I don't think there's probably 4 people on Earth. Well, no, there's probably like 5 who even know what Farrago is. It's you, because I talk about it, me, Vic Berger, Doug Pound, and the guy who invented Farrago. I think that's pretty much the list. So like, but then when I say I had drops envy, I was envious of the fact that they have two people whose full-time job it is, while the conversation is going on, to be constantly firing drops. And like really weird shit too, like just the sound of people eating, just like a musical, like just the Carry On My Wayward Son from the Kansas song. Then they had a third guy who's I think he's a musician named Machine Drum. He was there with a laptop, and what he was doing was live making drops out of Tim Heidecker and everyone else in the moment. So Tim Heidecker had said at some point, go off, King, just casually on the show. And then about, I'd say 20 seconds later, someone says something's going, you just hear, go off, King. This guy was like pulling down audio from the show, turning it into drops, and then just playing it. And it was the funniest thing I had ever heard. And I was just like, God, that would be so cool if we had an operation, Andrew, where we could have like two people just like whizzing smokers at us, just whizzing drops. Like it was, what it felt like was like, if I could think of my dream version of TBTL, it would be basically what they were all doing there. And maybe someday we'll get to that, who knows? And I'm pretty happy with how things have turned out. But whereas when I was at the My Favorite Murder podcast, I was impressed by it, but that's not what I want to do. I don't want you and I to be doing a murder podcast.
Yeah, I thought about that conversation we had about that, and like I maybe came off a little self-righteous in that conversation, but like I think now that you visited another podcast, I feel like this is exactly what I'm talking about. You looked at the My Favorite Murder people and you said, wow, this is successful. And then you said, this is what I want. And that's what I was challenging on you. I'm like, really? Is that what you want? And because it doesn't sound like the types of things that bring you joy. It's just nice to be successful. Whereas this is both successful and the type of thing that brings you joy.
Yes, that's exactly right. This is, and by the way, I don't know how, I don't know what the economics of it are exactly. Like, I know it's really popular with a lot of the people that you and I are friends with online. Our friends like Hauser, aka J-Dog, and other people. Our friend Cassie Chatelaine smashed the like button when I put a post about it on Instagram. So it's like the funny people that we know and like, and the comedy nerds. I feel like it's a big deal in their world. I wonder. I mean, I don't think that they're all doing this just for kicks. I'm sure that it is profitable, but it's hard for me to get a sense of exactly. I think it generates less money than the My Favorite Murder podcast.
Oh,
but I'm
My
with
Favorite
you.
Murder has to be one of the most popular, right? It's got to have consistently been in the top 5, probably.
I think it's probably one of
years
them.
now.
Yeah, I would imagine it's one of the more profitable outfits going. But you're right. This was what I was observing yesterday was like my dream version of our show. It's you and me. We're in the same room. There's like a bunch of other people that work on the show, but everybody is like fun and in on the joke. And like, there's just like sound effects are being played, and we're just kind of creating this big fun, kind of like 2-hour sesh. Like, you know what I mean? It was really, really up my alley. And to answer the question, because the other thing I've said about this show, Office Hours Live, every time it comes up on our program, was I was never sure if I understood what was going on with Tim Heidecker as the host of it. And so I was asking him about that, like after the show. Again, I think we were filming at this point, but it's not anything that we're going to use in the TV story. But I was like, how do you think about this character that are we just seeing you? Are you just being yourself when you're hosting Office Hours Live? He's like, I would never talk to somebody in real life the way that I talk to people on this show. He says, or it would take a lot. Which checked out because, by the way, he was so nice and so friendly and so not like at all being weird or kind of like, I don't know. He was very earnest in a good way. Like he just was, he was just really inviting and kind and nice and not trying to be like. Now on air, when he's like asking me about Barry White, he is kind of messing, or Weiss, he's kind of messing with me. It would have been great if he asked me about Barry and it was Barry White.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Barry? Oh, my new boss? No. The can't get enough of your love, babe guy. But so it was interesting because when he was on the air as the host of Office Hours, he's kind of being a little bit like, he's just playing this character of like a talk show, maybe a morning radio jock who's kind of like a little dismissive of other people, who's kind of dismissive of the callers if they're on a bad phone line or whatever. He's kind of doing this shtick. And he was doing that to me a little bit on the air, putting me in kind of a weird position to ask me about CBS stuff, knowing I'm from CBS. But then off the air, totally different. So that for me solved that question and made me then like really like what's happening on Office Hours Live, because I was able to realize that, he's doing a character. That's not him exactly. That's not who he really is. It's him amped up for entertainment purposes. And so that gave me a category to file it under, and then made me like, I think I'm going to become kind of a regular viewer of the show now. I mean, having been there, and kind of getting a view into what's going on there. I'm feeling very, if you can't already tell, I'm feeling very attached to this whole thing now. Office Hours Live.
Did you ask him what was wrong with his microphone stand at the beginning of his stand-up special? Like, he really seemed to struggle. And I always thought if I had a chance to ask him, I would love to know, like, what was going on? Was the stand broken? Do you know what I'm talking about? Did you ever watch that stand-up special? It came out during the pandemic, which was what made it especially special to me. I think a lot of people have some sort of content like that. Sorry to use content in that way. Ugh, I feel gross just saying but you know what I mean, whether it was the Tiger King documentary or the Michael Jordan documentary, which I didn't watch, or for me, like, I like the little personal ones. For me, I dug into the archives of CNN and rewatched that documentary about the royal family. Do you remember that? It was like some sort of CNN.
That was a weird time
that
for
was
you.
a weird thing. Or that I was ironing napkins watching that, and that and that
we all processed the pandemic in different ways.
And that was it John Boy's documentary about the Mariners. Anyway, we all have our little things that we attach to that time of our life, right? And one of them for us was the Tim Heidecker stand-up special, which he released, I believe, for free on YouTube. And like, I think I watched it not live, but like the day that it dropped. And Genevieve was in the other room, and Genevieve is a huge fan, like just a huge fan of his, as am I. But like, I think Genevieve almost has like maybe like a I don't know, almost like a fascination or something. And so I put it on, and she's in the kitchen, and the first, I'm going to say, I don't know, 4 minutes, which is a really long time, he just comes out, tries to grab the mic stand falls over, he goes to pick, it's just 4 minutes of physical
Isn't he wearing
comedy.
like a leather jacket?
Yes, because he's playing this character of kind of being like this kind of like what's the word, like kind of jaded, slightly toxic white male, like a stand-up. He's definitely doing a character in that, but it's I don't know, I was gonna say it's a little bit more subtle. It's not like he's just straight up doing a straight-on parody of who was the guy from the 80s who wore the leather jacket.
Dice Clay.
Yeah, he's not like doing a straight-up Dice Clay. It is more subtle than that, yet it's hard to explain how you can do that subtly when the first bit of your act is like 4 minutes of just going to grab the microphone and having it fall, and then you're just wrestling with it and getting more and more kind of angry at the universe around. You can see it's pissing him off, and then he wants to blame somebody else for it. And I remember Genevieve's like, so you started it? And I was like, yeah, I started it. We can go back. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be for you. Like, it is, let me just say that, like, so far it's nothing but him like wrestling with a microphone stand. She's like, just put it on. So I rewind it to the beginning, and I don't know if I've ever heard Genevieve laugh so hard and so long. It's before or since she watched that. She was in tears. And talk about me not being able to read what I thought Genevieve would find funny. Like, if I play it, all I have to do is mention that scene of Heidecker, the physical comedy, because you don't think of him as a physical comedian, right? But like, just the physical comedy of him trying to grab a microphone stand and then just being so foolish and knocking it over 100 times in a row will just bring her to tears.
I also had this strong sense of kind of wanting, and I don't do this normally, but like particularly this Vic Berger guy, I almost wanted to like send him our show or be like, you should listen to this, you would like this. And you know that is not how I roll. Like, I'm generally speaking very embarrassed about this lifestyle of doing a daily podcast, and like I'm shy about it. But there was something about the audio drop thing. In fact, I was like telling Vic, I think my current favorite drop is Tom Brady saying, I hate you because you're different. And then I was like, I want to send this to him, and then maybe he'll play it. Like, which is funny because people send us drops. Like, it was an interesting experience because I both liked it so much out there, and I liked everybody so much. And I wanted to be I guess I wanted to be part of it a little bit, but also I just like was like, I kind of do the same thing with my friend Andrew. And like, And that was when I did get the strongest reaction from Vic and Doug Pound was when I told them that, oh yeah, I do a daily show with my friend, and we did like the 4,000th and 700th episode or something today. They were like, what? So I did get to flex that a little bit, but yeah. So that's the update from my big trip to Office Hours Live and talking to Tim Heidecker. The other thing too was, they're taking over. The Onion is taking over Infowars.com. That was the website that Alex Jones had, and what I was really surprised by was talking to Tim Heidecker about how genuinely upset he was about what Alex Jones did to the Sandy Hook families. He's really is really, really mad about that, and he really, really wants to do something good with this website. Which, any money that's generated from it as far as merch and stuff goes, it's all going to go back to the families. He's basically saying that it's going to become he said there's a lot of really funny stuff on Instagram and TikTok and all these places. There's not really one central location for really funny video stuff, and that's what they want Infowars to be. He kind of wants it to be he says he's hoping that in 10 years, nobody will remember that it used to be associated with Alex Jones. It'll be a funny website that people like, and that they'll be someone will be like, do you know how this thing started? That would be kind of his dream. He doesn't want to just be on there doing an Alex Jones impression for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. The other thing he said that I thought was very touching.
More like he used it to erase Alex Jones.
Yeah, pretty much. And he said that he and his wife found out that she was pregnant with their first child the day that the Sandy Hook stuff happened. And that he has always, not that he was trying to center himself in the story, and he even said that in the interview, but it's there's something about his, him having this moment of new life in his family and this awful, awful, incredible, unimaginable tragedy in the lives of these other families. These were just connected ideas in his mind. And he's talked to the Sandy Hook families, and he's told them this, and he's talked about what the plan is for the website. So that was a moment of real sincereness from him that I guess I wasn't expecting or something. He was a pretty sincere, pretty likable, but fairly serious guy, particularly about this stuff.
Yeah, I believe that.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
All right, before we jump into the top stories, Andrew, I was under the impression that we had read all of the dazzling donor messages that had been submitted and that we were now cruising until the next thon, but that is apparently not quite the case.
That's not quite the case. Can I tell you a story? Can I tell you?
Yes.
It's a story, but it's really an allegory, Luke.
Oh, man.
Do you remember when I lived in the Roosevelt neighborhood of Seattle, my favorite bar was Teddy's, and I spent a lot of time at Teddy's, and I became...
I would say it's still in your top 5. You probably just don't go there as much, right?
Yeah, it's still a great bar. I just don't find myself going there all that often, except for maybe after a Mariners game, I might stop off the train there or something, say hey to the old gang. But it really was my true definition of a neighborhood watering hole. I became friends with a lot of the folks there, and including the bartenders, and they had a jukebox at Teddy's, and they also had bartenders who very much liked their own music, and they had probably a 12-hour long playlist that I found very comforting. And they didn't mind if you played the jukebox. But sometimes when somebody would start the jukebox, I'd see the bartender kind of roll his eyes or get a little bit huffy or whatever, but what's wrong? And the thing is, what I learned was it wasn't about playing the jukebox that bummed the bartenders out. It was when somebody would interrupt their playlist and then just play one or two songs off the jukebox, and then there'd be a long pause, then it'd go back to their music, and then it would interrupt another song, and it'd be the herky-jerky nature of it. So when I was there, if I decided I am going to make the leap and I'm going to rock the jukebox tonight, I like saying rock. My songs.
Don't rock the jukebox. I want to hear George Jones.
And this has really stuck with me in any bar I'm at now. If I decide I'm going to go and use the Touch Tunes or the All Music app or whatever.
It's all Rain Dogs, front to back, including some European stuff that was not released here.
Spare Change got rained on with his own 38. Let's see, it's Touch Tunes or AMI Play. That's the other one. Anyway, point is, if I'm doing that at a bar now, I make sure I'm in this. I'm going to choose the first 5 songs mentally before I even put the first virtual dime into the jukebox, right? And then I'm gonna keep it going for a while until I'm done. I'm not gonna start the jukebox, stop the jukebox, start the jukebox, stop the jukebox because it's too herky jerky. And that is what I would like to do to in this final phase of the dazzling donor messages. I heard word from our friend John Sklaroff that another dazzling donor message has come in. Now, right now, that is one dazzling donor message that is sitting there waiting for us to read it. Now, we could have reintroduced the dazzling donor music and segment intro today and read this one, and then just moved on with our lives. But then another one might come in on Wednesday of next week, and then we're reintroducing that segment again. So with your blessing, Luke, and the listeners, I'm going to hold this dazzling donor message and make this a final last call. I believe the first last call was in February, and now in June, we're making the final last call. Any more dazzling donor messages, the doors are open. Send them in. If you no longer have that form in your inbox, email john@tbtl.net. Right? That's it. john@tbtl.net. Don't put an H in the John.
That's one I've been using.
John. Yeah. And send them in now, and then maybe we will have a few more dazzling donor messages next week. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Or if you just want to email John about the New York Knickerbockers.
Yes.
He will really want to have that, as I was last night. I was sending him videos from the hotel room of me watching his New York Knicks pull off that quite stunning comeback. And I want to say also for every an incredible comeback and make one fan base happy, it's very crushing for the other fan base. So if you're listening in San Antonio, or if you're a Spurs fan, my heart goes out to you, because that must have been really, really tough. But man, for those Knicks fans like our John Sklaroff, that was a crazy night.
Luke, I need to ask you about something. So
yes, please. I'm read in on this for once.
You and I talked very briefly about the NBA Finals, I think 2 shows ago or something, right? Because I knew that the Knicks were in it. And I think I'm guessing through you, or maybe through a quick mention on the radio, that it's a big story for several reasons, but it seemed like the biggest one early on was that the Knicks hadn't been to the finals in like a really long time. I can't remember if you told me that or if I heard that somewhere else. So that sort of put it on my radar.
And hadn't won either. That's the
I
thing.
see. Okay. And so, as somebody who just said, I listen to a lot of sports radio just as background sound, but also I'm in Seattle. We don't have a basketball team. A lot of it isn't NBA related. And when it's the national shows, I literally just I keep the radio on, but it just becomes background noise, and I don't really pay that much attention to it. Yet this time, I feel like maybe it's because of all the Trump booing and the story around that, and the Knicks losing that game, and because of the celebrities. I don't know what it was, but I felt like I'm just hearing more about it. I feel like this time, where I feel like I'm just even to the modicum that I'm invested in the storylines, it's more than usual. And I was having that thought. I was like, is this happening all across America? Are people just more invested in the NBA Finals this time than usual? And I had that thought, and about 3 hours later, I came home from a quick walk with the dog, and I was surprised to see that Genevieve was in the basement. This was yesterday. Genevieve was in the basement watching our TV, and that's where she installed a over-the-air antenna. So if you want to watch anything that is actually over the air, you have to watch it in the basement. But I was surprised. I come home, and I'm like, what are you doing in the basement? She's like, oh, I just wanted to watch the end of the Knicks game. No, she didn't even say the Knicks game. She said, I wanted to watch the end of the basketball game. And I was like, what the heck? Genevieve doesn't care about basketball. I don't care about basketball. There's never been a time in our life we've said, let's watch the end of the basketball game. And then I'm like, oh. And Viv says, yeah, they were down by 29 points, and now they're coming back. And she said, they. And I said, you're talking about the Knicks? She didn't specify which team, but somehow I came in to see that Genevieve was turning on a basketball game to see how it ended, and that without saying which team she was talking about, I knew she was talking about the Knicks. I said, what is going on in the world? This is way bigger than any other NBA Finals in recent memory, right? As far as pop culture interest?
I think it is. I think it's because it's the New York Knicks, who are maybe second only to the Lakers in terms of well-known NBA teams, and also, a team that hasn't. I think maybe in '99 they played in the finals against the Spurs. Interestingly enough, and lost. I think that was probably back in the Tim Duncan era. So it's been a long time, and they're in New York City.
That is such a good basketball name.
Yes. That's true. I don't think I even thought about that, but you're right. That's a very apropos name.
Will you ask Keith Urban about that? Sorry.
Hey, Keith, I have a question about Tim Duncan. So all that is to say, I think that the Knicks being in it is huge. I think the fact that Victor Wembanyama is this unusual player, even by the standards of a league that has a lot of tall guys. He's like, they said he was 7'5" last night. So you've got this guy who's like a head taller than everybody else on the court, which again is insane because this is a sport where guys are 7 feet tall pretty regularly, and he's really good a lot of the time. Somehow it's converged. For me, the thing that helped, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to cop to this or not, but I guess I will. The thing that helped was, so the New York Knicks won the first 2 games of the series in San Antonio. And that was very unexpected. And it was very close games. And they were leading 2-0 coming back to New York. And New York City was absolutely on fire for this team. Like, the tickets were $5,000 a ticket. There were these outdoor watch parties everywhere. There was, the my mayor is Muslim. My mayor is Muslim. I think it's like my banker. I think he said my mayor is Muslim. My banker's a Jew. My Christian Dior Nixon 4. That was the
T-shirt.
That was the catchphrase that was going. This one dude literally just yelled this into a cell phone camera, celebrating in New York City, and it became the rallying cry of the city, basically about the kind of the Knicks winning and also the multicultural aspect of New York City, et cetera. And the guy who was doing that, I believe, was maybe a guy of Middle Eastern heritage. It just was kind of like this whole. It was just like a moment of peak New Yorkness. Like, oh my God, the Knicks are going to do this in 4. We're all coming together. We love each other. And that was when, Andrew, I said, I think that the Spurs might win this series, because what I know is that when all of the conventional wisdom is going in one direction, I cannot tell you how many times in sports it seems to not go the way that everybody thinks. And so on that Monday, I decided to, uncharacteristically for me, do a little parimutuel betting on the NBA Finals. And I bet on the San Antonio Spurs to win the series. And that was a crazy bet at the time because the Knicks had won the first 2 on the road. They're coming back to Madison Square Garden. They had the Knicks had not lost in Madison Square Garden for 13 games or something. Like, they were unbeatable at home. And I thought, I'm hearing this Knicks in 4 stuff. Everyone's just, we got friggin' Ben Stiller high-fiving Timothy Chabladou on the, there's just too much. There's too much going in the Knicks' favor for me to think that this is really going to work out. And so I did some betting on the Spurs, and sure enough, the Spurs won that Monday night game. And what happened was, my bet, because it may or may not, don't come for me, everybody, but the bet was in a, let's just call it a poly market. And so the way it works,
well, then it wasn't a bet; it was an investment in the future.
That's right. Thank you, Andrew. I'm using the wrong terminology. It's an investment in our future. The investment is dynamic. So I'm watching the game. So if you were to do a sports bet, a typical sports bet where you went to the sports book at Caesars Casino, you say, okay, I'm going to put $100 on the Spurs to win the NBA series, the NBA Finals, and right now I'm making 3 times my bet, because right now the Spurs are down 2-0. They are, they're not expected to win this series, and so you're getting a lot of money if they do it. It would be an unexpected outcome, and so. But what you would do if it was a typical sports betting thing is you would put that bet down. They would give you a receipt that's like, this is your ticket now. And then you just carry that around for the next week. And then depending on what happens with the series, you either go in and cash it out or you lose all your money.
The odds were locked in when you got the ticket, in other words, right? Is that a way of putting it? In other words, the line doesn't move once you bought your ticket. The value, the payout value on that is going to be the same the day you bought it as the day that you find out what the outcome is. Whereas with this, the line moves and your investment. I mean, that is. Yes. I mean, I was obviously joking, but that is the difference here. It's just no. If more and more people start quote unquote investing in this outcome, well, then it's gonna devalue.
They legally
your
or not legally. They literally call it your portfolio. They're trying to kind of make it look like it's like stocks or something, But it's yes, you're exactly right. That was a very, very good description of how it works, Andrew, actually. Because so instead of that $100, you just either win your bet and you get your $300 later, or you lose your $100. You're watching your $100. Every time the Spurs are hitting a basket on Monday night, your $100 is going up. It's like $101, $102, because if the Spurs win, they're getting closer to maybe winning the series, and therefore your bet on them is paying off. Also, if they start to lose, you see it go down. You're watching it go in either direction. And what you can do critically is you can also just sell it off at any time. You can just say like, okay, I've had enough. I'm going to sell my $100 bet because now it's $120. I've just made $20. Or it might go down to $70 and you're like, okay, I've lost enough. I'm going to lose my $30. I'm going to get out of this bet right now. It is very dynamic in that way.
I was wrong about the way I was describing that, though. I was wrong about something because I also thought that I thought it was like a market, whereas if more and maybe you know what, this is maybe exposing me that I don't even understand how markets work just writ large. But I thought it was kind of like, well, if it looks like the tide is turning and it looks like the Spurs start gaining more and more momentum, then more and more quote unquote investors are going to jump on that bandwagon, and then the more people who are on that bandwagon, the less valuable it is. That's sort of what I was thinking as well, but it sounds like I'm wrong about that.
I think what's happening is that the value of the people on the other side of the ledger is going down, and that's driving your value up. Okay. So the people that have the Knicks to win the series, they're watching their $100 go down to $99 when it looks like the Spurs are going to win game 3. And I don't know if it's directly that money, but basically like the better that because I had a bet on the Spurs to win the series, the better they were doing on Monday, the more valuable my portfolio was for whatever exact market reason of that. Because of course it would be the opposite. There would be no upside to betting them and then them doing well and then it making my bet worth less money in the way that these poly markets work. But here's the major takeaway. On Monday night, I'm watching the game, and I'm like, first of all, I made the bet on Sunday, and I was just like, and then I was thinking about it on Monday, and I was like, I haven't really used these very much, these poly markets. I probably won't again, but like, I think I didn't realize that it's not like a sports casino. In other words, I didn't realize that I could also just like sell my bet off if I wanted to. I think I thought I was stuck with it. And I was like, on Monday, I was like, that was kind of dumb. Why did I do that? Like I had a hunch and I played my hunch. And now it's like, I'm just going to be really stressed out about this series. And also I was kind of on a level, I was rooting for the Knicks because our friend John Sklarov is a longtime Knicks fan. And, I don't know. I also really like San Antonio. I like Greg Popovich. I like Wembanyama sort of, although he's becoming a little bit of a heel in this series now because he's done some kind of he's committed some pretty hard fouls on like Jalen Brunson, who's roughly a quarter of his height. So all that is to say, I'm watching the game on Monday night and I'm realizing, because I'm watching it and I'm looking at my little bet and my investment, and I'm watching my investment kind of go up and down based on how the Spurs are doing. And so by the end of the game, the Spurs have won, and my bet has actually increased in value, like, fairly significantly. It's gone up by a couple $100, and I'm like, wow, I could just to get all of this money back right now, plus the couple $100, and then just be done with this, and then not be stressed about what's going to happen the rest of the series. And so that's what I did.
Oh, good.
I just said, I was like, this is great. This is enough. Like, first of all, I was kind of sweating the initial decision to, for some reason, bet on this series when I know nothing about basketball anymore. And also, this is like amazing. I can actually I can quietly walk away with my initial amount that I had invested, and then also a little bit of gravy, a little bit of candy, as our friend Newman would say, rest in peace. And so I did that. But then that gave me what that basically did is it supercharged my Knicks fandom, if that makes any sense. Because what it meant was I had withdrawn my bet, which had a really big upside if the Spurs would have won the whole series. I basically took a safe off ramp from this bet. I just said, this is great. I'll take a couple of $100 and I'll walk away from this, and then I won't have any money invested in this series. But then last night, when the Spurs are up 29 points, Andrew, I am like kicking myself. I'm like, you scared fool, you. Like, they're like, the Knicks, the Spurs are not only going to win this game, they're going to win the rest of the series. This is not even going to be close. Like, if you would have just left your large bad idea bet in play, you would be rich right now. You could hire 11 people to work on TBTL and play audio drops for you. So I was like in this whole weird thing of like being kind of annoyed with myself that I had taken the safe out yesterday. So you can imagine that as the Knicks were roaring back, I was like, and then when they eventually won, I was both happy for the people of New York. I was happy for our buddy John Sklarov and other Knicks fans of the world, but I was really happy happy for myself that was the right call. I was really happy I got out when I got out, because that little amount that I had made back on whatever Monday night, I mean, that whole bet of mine would have been torpedoed, because now the Knicks are up 3-1. They're very much in the driver's seat of this series, and so this is just really a story of me for once in my life making a prudent decision. I mean, I made an imprudent decision to bet on the NBA Finals, but then I made a prudent decision to get out of my bet on the NBA Finals.
What do you think happens with the series now? I mean, they're going back to Texas, right? So is there an advantage there? Again, keep in mind, I literally don't know anything about basketball.
I think it could still go to a Game 7. Like, the thing is, when the Spurs are playing well, which has been a lot of this series, it's been most of the quarters of this series, it's just been that they've had kind of like, they've made some really dumb decisions in critical moments. And I think Game 2, Wembanyama threw like a turnover. He caused a turnover in the last minute, which really changed the course of the game. Last night, I mean, they were leading by 29 points. It was the largest lead that any road team has had in the history of the NBA Finals. Like, it was over. And all San Antonio needed to do was just pass the ball inside to Wembanyama, have him just turn around and go to the rack and then either make the basket or get fouled. Instead, they jacked up like a bunch of three-pointers. They shot like 9 3-pointers in a row at one point. I don't think that many of them went in. Like, they're a young team, and they just sort of made some real blunders after they had played really well. But I think it remains that if they stick to their game plan, I think that they're arguably, I don't know if they're going to win the finals, but I don't think that they're like, I think they're better than the Knicks potentially. This still may be the Knicks year, but my guess is that they will win the next game, and then it'll be 3-2, and then I guess we'll see what happens. I could see them winning the next 2 games at home, and it being I don't know if it goes back to San Antonio. I'm not actually clear on what the schedule is, but I think this could go to 7 games, believe it or not, because you know what now it is, Andrew? It's like I'm just an anti-pendulum guy. I think that's my entire theory of most things in life is, and you'll see this when we're watching the Seahawks and it's halftime and we're losing. I'll always be in the comments of our text chain being like, we're going to get some ball bounces in the second half. I just tend to feel like when the ball's bouncing away from you, it's going to eventually bounce back towards you. Like, it's going to regress to the mean. Whenever everyone's like, now the Knicks have this in hand because they just won this dramatic game last night. When all of the smart money is now on the Knicks, I start to think, well, I could see the Spurs surprising some people. I don't know if that's a very interesting theory or if it's proven out, but it's clearly my theory of most cases. It's like, if everyone's saying one thing, like vaccines, if everyone's saying that we need to take these, I'm just saying, do we? Is this something that I might be able to research on my own and kind of find some insight on, Andrew?
And if I do get it, should I get it in the back of the QFC on Holman Road? Or
should I go to a fancier neighborhood?
Yes, exactly. Do I want to get my shot in the same place that has a PF Chang's? That's what I want to know, because my grocery store has both a pneumonia shot waiting for me and some General Tso's chicken. You can get it all at the QFC. And I believe that there is is there a Starbucks in there as well? It was funny you mentioned, you're like, oh, I think you were for a second trying to figure out like kind of what the schedule is as far as like where the games are going to be played.
Yeah.
If it does go to 7, it goes back to Texas for the next one, and then if necessary, it goes back to New York, and then if necessary, it does go back to San Antonio.
So Game 7's in San Antonio.
Yeah, and so they do, and it's funny because this came up last night. I was asking Genevieve and I. So again, it was kind of funny. So I walk in the door, and Genevieve's in the basement, and I ask her why, and I remember there's literally 3 minutes and 40 seconds left in the game or something along the lines of that. She's like, I was on Blue Sky, so I'm already talking about it. I just wanted to catch the end
that's
of
what I
this
wanted
game.
to know is what was the kind of impetus for her
I
to
think
actually
she
check
was like
this game
scrolling. It's funny because she's not like on Blue Sky a lot, but I think she was scrolling on some sort of social media, and she's not on very much these days, so I'm assuming it was Blue Sky. And she said, I saw everybody talking about it, so I figured I'd turn it on, which was interesting. But then, of course, we start joking because, first of all, I see there's 3 minutes and 40 seconds left, and I'm not even sure if this is true of the NBA or if this is something that is more of a college basketball thing. But I'm like, oh well, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. That's a lot of programming to go, right? Like the last few minutes of a basketball game are actually drawn out potentially what would it take? Like potentially 20 minutes, a half hour to finish up the last few minutes of a game because of all of the game clock management and stuff. Am I totally off my nut?
It's not exactly like football because the clock doesn't stop on. Like,
I thought it was
completion.
more so. I thought it was more like because you can the teams are constantly drawing fouls to stop the clock. I always thought
maybe
the last
that makes
few minutes,
that, you know what, that might make it you're right, that might make it a coin toss as far as I think of somebody has studied this, I'm sure. I guess I think of the end of a football game as being the most ridiculously elastic amount of time, and I think of an NBA game as being a little more predictable. But you might be right because of all of the fouls and stuff. Maybe the clock stops more than I'm thinking about with NBA basketball.
and I might be thinking of college basketball too, because again, I don't watch basketball, but the stuff I've been exposed to has been more of, I don't know, I'm with somebody who is into the Final Four or something like that, so I've picked up some games there. I did watch a little bit of the Heat when they were in the but that was the bubble year too, right? That was
that was
weird
because
pandemic.
Le Batard got you into the Heat.
It was
right?
Le Batard and the pandemic, and so I think that it was just sort of
you wouldn't take off that Hassan Whiteside jersey.
But I'm still wearing it. I sleep in it. Hassan Whiteside is or was. I'm looking it up on Wikipedia. Anyway. Let's see here. What was I going to say? Oh, so I say to Vives, I'm like, oh, well, there's still if there's like 3.5 minutes left, like this is I'll sit down and watch some of this with you. And it did seem like I don't know how long we were in the basement, about 20 minutes, half hour, whatever. And we keep asking each other questions about how the game is played, and neither one of us know how the game is played. You know how you just naturally say, if you and I are watching a game, I'll just ask you a question like, why is that guy's shorts longer than the other guys or whatever? And you might have an answer for me. And you would say, well, back in the day, the shorts were actually much shorter or whatever. But like Genevieve and I are like a bird pecking at a mirror, asking each other questions. And she's like, well, where does the game go after this? Does it go to San Antonio? I'm like, I don't know. Do they play every day? I said, why is there a space in between Monday's game and Wednesday's game if both games are in New York? And she said, I don't know. And I said, well, maybe it's because maybe it has something to do with the NHL playoffs happening at the same time. Maybe the leagues decide to like alternate games. And she said, I don't know. And then she asked me something about like, can you call a foul? I don't understand what that means. She asked me about that. And I said, I don't know. And then we started calling ourselves lifelong Knicks fans, of course, because we were,
that actually might be a good show title. Lifelong Knicks fans.
I will say, and I can't remember the name of the player who tipped in that ball to actually, Anobi. What struck me was it was one of this is an audio engineering sort of point. The crowd was so loud in that moment that that all of the sound compressed. I don't know if you noticed that in the broadcast, but it was like it got so loud that it got quiet. And that's sort of, you and I do that. Sometimes I ask you to turn down your microphone a little bit when we're doing our sound checks, because if you get too loud, the compression kicks in and you can hear it. And it was amazing. It was so loud, it was quiet. It was like the final scene of Oppenheimer.
I thought, by the way, it's Ananobi. Sorry about that. So I am only a slightly higher level bird, Andrew, pecking at the mirror myself. So this is like I'm not much help in these things. But I thought that somebody was standing near the broadcast mic and was swearing because it kind of like glitched out. The audio glitched out when he hit that shot, and I thought it was like somebody was screaming and they had like hit the delay or something. That was my brain trying to figure out why the audio got so weird, at least here in my hotel room.
I don't think so, because it didn't go totally out. It just went like, it got so loud that I think compression like pumped it back down, the way that like if you have microphones picking up a certain amount of noise and they're set in a certain way, but then if like a bomb goes off or something super loud kind of like is out of the ordinary, then like the compression kicks in. I'm pretty sure that's what we heard.
Yeah, no, I believe you. I'm just saying I heard something weird and my brain was trying to write a story about it. The other thing, too, is it's like, the thing with the Knicks is that on the one hand, and, we just talked about this a while ago, like you're kind of celebrity blind, and I have the opposite, which I don't like about myself. It makes me think that celebrity must mean more to me than I want to let on.
Nope, I don't think that's true. I think no. I actually think it's a really important skill, and I don't think it's just about celebrity. I think you I think that's one of the reasons you were able to have your job not in Congress. You were not, as far as I know, a congressman, but like to cover Congress, like the ability to like recognize faces and immediately identify them with a name and some background information. I don't think you're just like that with celebrity. I think that's a good skill to have
thank
in
you
the world.
Thank you for that. I legitimately appreciate it, because what I was doing on Monday night when I was watching the Knicks was just yelling out the names of every famous person that I was seeing, and it was like Rahm Emanuel was there. Like it's such a hot ticket, and New York has so many well-known people in it that like there's a point at which the courtside seats, the seats that are surrounding the entire court, are almost exclusively famous people. Like it'll be Taylor Swift and the band Haim, and then they're just like next to Larry David or something. And it's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not like there's some celebrities at the game. It's like there's no one who's not a celebrity in the front row. And look, celebrities get to love their teams. They don't lose that privilege from being celebrities. And like, I like Ben Stiller a lot. He's, this lifelong New York Knicks fan. He's, of course, always on the sideline. You've got Chalamet there. There's something, though, about Timothy, like a Nick hitting a shot. And by the way, I like Timothy Chalamet, too. Like, I think he's good at acting, and I like seeing him in movies and stuff. But there's something about Timothy Chalamet yelling, "Let's fucking go!" Like he hit the shot that just is like, it's a little hard for me to get behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like someone who already exists at the absolute apex of privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Again, self-made. Like, I mean, Chalamet got to where he is because he's worked really hard and he's a very talented person and everything. But it's like, I mean, it'd be worse if it was Don Jr. Okay, so if it was Donald Trump Jr. yelling LFG, that would be the worst for me.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, it's like somebody who's just it feels like everything in their life has broken right, to the degree that they're like one of the valued few who get to be courtside for this, and then also this is working out for them. This is somehow in my mind. I'm not saying I'm not insane, because I don't know why these are the calculations.
No, I'm with you. Like I had a little, I hadn't put it into words like that. And again, I'm seriously not a Taylor Swift hater, but that was one of the first things I saw when I walked in the room. And I was like, oh, there's Taylor Swift. And it was like, they were her and her crew. I didn't recognize that was Haim. It was a pretty quick shot, but I guess they were all wearing shirts that said Stevie Nicks. That was both
actually.
Am I wrong
they were
about
all
that?
plays. No, you're partially right. She had a shirt on that said Stevie Nicks. Nicks spelled like the Knicks, but then the one of the other Haim sisters had one that said Nickelback, but the Nick was spelled like the Knicks, and then I forget what they all had shirts on that were like a play on the word Knicks, but were slightly different.
I see. Okay, so but and like I agree with you. Like when I see Spike Lee, I'm like,
yes,
oh, that's cool. Like that feels to me like true fandom that I mean, again, as somebody who doesn't know much about basketball or basketball culture, I feel like I've never known a time that he has not been in the stands of a Knicks game. You know what I mean? Going back to probably the late 80s, so like I'm happy for somebody like him, again, a man who is, has reached the top of his own professional game and everything. But to me, that feels like that is a long suffering fan who has earned his place there. And I can't break down the other celebrities. It was so funny. I was trying to also, because I'm so bad at recognizing celebrities, there was a celebrity on the screen. I'm like, who is that? Who is that? And Genevieve said, that's Larry David. And the thing is, it wasn't that I was not recognizing Larry David. I didn't even notice Larry David because I was trying to figure out the guy next to him who was McEnroe. And I was like, why is those two, and why is McEnroe and Larry David sitting next to each other at the game so perfect? I noticed Seinfeld was in the crowd as well, but he was not with Larry David. Somehow McEnroe and Larry David do seem like a better couple. And is that something that we know about? Am I thinking of an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm or something? Or is it just like, oh yeah, two cranky old guys?
Two cranky New Yorkers who get into it with people. McEnroe seems like the perfect guest star on an episode of Curb.
That's what I was racking my brain
I can't
about.
tell you if it's happened, but it feels like it should have happened.
Yes.
They seem very, very connected. Oh, and by the way, I saw this online yesterday. I think that they might have had the guy, I think his name is Avery Wilson, who sang the national anthem at Game 3. Remember when they cut to Trump on the on the screen and then everybody booed. I think they might have had him sing it for Game 4. I'm not sure if that, again, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to spread an internet rumor. Are you able to...
Is the idea because of the distraction?
Because he was unfortunately, he was just singing the national anthem while they're showing Trump. And so this is the person who had to sing the national anthem to a thunderous round of boos during their performance. That would be kind of a pretty big bummer for them. So I had seen somewhere that they said that they had him back for Game 4. And I believed it, but now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, yeah, but who did they originally have scheduled for Game 4? And that person must have been sad too if they lost the opportunity. Like, how do you tell them you're just not allowed to do it because we feel bad for Avery Wilson? I'd have to imagine those kinds of things are planned out pretty far in advance. So I don't know if they did
I'm trying
do that,
to figure it out. So I do see that it was Avery Wilson, the Good Luck national anthem singer. But I can't tell if that was... Do you... Actually, I kind of lost the thread there for a second. So is Avery Wilson the person who sang definitely last night or definitely on Monday night?
Definitely on Monday night.
Okay.
And was there... was the person performing the national anthem when the boos rained in for Donald Trump? And I had seen a clip on probably TikTok last night, somebody saying that they actually had them back to sing it at the fourth game so that there's not going to be booing during their performance.
I am seeing a clip online now that was posted 18 hours ago that says Avery Wilson performs the Star Spangled Banner at Game 4. So that would confirm that. And also an MSN article that says Avery Wilson to return for Knicks Game 4 anthem performance. So that's
good for Avery Wilson, but I'm also sad for whoever was supposed to do game. I think it was Erica Kirk. So honestly, I think it's fine. I think it's probably okay at this point.
There's a right way to rock and a wrong way to roll. You can just listen to your soul. Just remember that life is number one. You can be having so much fun. Just remember that life is much fun. You can be number one.
Did you tell Tim that we're using this for our
Andrew,
Blur's Day music?
I had 2 jobs when I came to Los Angeles. Figure out what the deal is with Hit Boy and ask Tim Heidecker if we can use this song. And I failed on both counts. Not because I didn't feel comfortable. In fact, I had a plan once I realized he was a nice guy to mention this to him, really more or less in a complimenting fashion. Like, hey, we like using right way to rock, wrong way to roll. I know that there's no way he can clear the rights for us, but I was really going to tell him, and then I just forgot.
Now,
so that's
I know you know this, and we mention on the show from time to time, that little music that we played to introduce the Blur's Day segment. First of all, it just occurred to me right now that there's a right way to rock, there's a wrong way to roll. That has nothing to do with birthdays. Well, how did we end up... How do we end up using that? But that is from the TV show, right? That's like Casey and his brother singing on Uncle Muscle's radio.
Uncle Muscle's like fun. I think
Uncle
it's like
Muscle
a telethon
Presents or something, right? And that's what that's from, right? And then we combined that with a different sketch that might have been like an online only thing or something of this music,
which is also him.
Yeah, this is also Tim Heidecker, but I don't even know if it's from Awesome Show, Great Job or what. But yeah, why do we use it? There's a right way to rock to wish people a happy birthday.
I
have no idea.
It's lost to time. I'm sure someone will email us. Yeah. Somebody will email us the story on this.
Actually, we might even have a Blur's Day recipient today who's the perfect person to do just that.
Ooh.
More on that in a moment. But first, let me tell people how they can wish a happy Blur's Day to themselves or someone else. You can email me. My email address is andrew@tbtl.net. There's no H in that. It's andrew@tbtl.net. And put Blur's Day in the subject line and then write a short little message wishing somebody a happy Blur's Day. Here's what Jody wrote. Happy 50th Blur's Day to me. I can kick, stretch, and kick. I'm 50. I'm a certified brand new listener just over a year now.
Wow.
That is a certified brand new listener. But you have become my favorite podcast, and I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Whoa.
This is really nice, Jody. Thanks for writing
really
in.
Nice.
Jody says, recently I decided to time band it from the beginning. So I'm spending part of most days in 2008 right now. I feel so much kinship with the business boys, reading Mary Oliver always makes me cry. Appreciate that, Jody. Also, first of all, welcome to the Teniverse.
Yes.
And also, if you're re-listening from the beginning, let us know why we use we use Casey and his brother singing "Right Way to Rock."
There you go.
You only have about what? I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years before you get there. Lisa says I see. Okay, Lisa says her actual birthday was on Tuesday, so I want to wish a happy Blur's Day month to Cheryl in Corvallis. One of the best things about being a 10 is the amazing friends you make, and Cheryl is one of my nearest and dearest. I look forward to doing more TBTL-related outings with you in coming years. I hope your Blur's Day was filled with all the awesomeness and excellence you deserve. And chocolate. Also lots and lots.
Tasty.
Of chocolate. Nice. Happy Blur's Day to Annie from Megan. May our shared wish of Andrew watching Dirty Dancing come true. I didn't pre-read this one. May our shared wish of Andrew watching Dirty Dancing come true so the Biz Boys can discuss it on the show. Cheers. Well, what about you? Have you seen Dirty Dancing, Luke? Why am I in the hot seat? Okay. Can I tell you what I think I know about this movie?
Yes.
So I want you to know that there are several dance movies that came out in the 80s, and I get them all confused. And I know one of them has an older guy who's a doctor, and dancing is banned in that town. And I want to say... Hold on. I know Kevin Bacon is in Dirty Dancing, right? Kevin Bacon is in Dirty Dancing?
Nope.
Kevin Bacon is not in Dirty Dancing.
No, Kevin Bacon is in the one that you're referencing.
The one with the doctor, and that's not Dirty Dancing either, where it's outlawed in the town and somebody has the bobo.
I can't remember. No. You're combining Dirty Dancing in a different movie.
Okay, there's Flashdance. That's at a school.
Yeah.
That's at a dance school. There's Flashdance at a dance school. And then there's the one with I Carried a Watermelon.
That's
Dirty
Dancing.
That's Dirty Dancing? That's the one with what's his name famously from Donnie Darko and Roadhouse.
City of Joy. Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze. So Patrick Swayze is the Dirty Dancing one.
Yes, Dirty Dancing, which, by the way, I think you'd actually like.
Okay.
So, okay.
I like Patrick Swayze a lot, and I like watermelons.
I think you would like, you know how we talk about sometimes almost the film stock of a movie?
Yes.
Just the look of a film? I think you would really enjoy the film quality of Dirty Dancing. It's basically the story of this young woman. Her nickname is Baby, and she's played by Jennifer Grey, and she and her family go to this family vacation camp in the Catskills called Kellerman's, where Wayne Knight, who we did not see on the sidelines of the Knicks game last night. Wayne Knight is I think he's he's the cruise director, he's the activity director or something, and he wears a Kellerman's hat that I've been trying to find for many years and still haven't. But anyway, her dad is played by Jerry Orbach.
Yes.
Of whatever you'd call it, Law and Order fame, and also of being Lumiere, the candlestick from the Beauty and the Beast movie, the cartoon.
Okay, so Orbach is in Dirty Dancing with Swayze.
He's a doctor.
I thought he was the one in the Kevin Bacon movie. Okay.
No, that's, I think, John Lithgow, who's just a real wet blanket who doesn't want there to be dancing in the town.
I'm getting those two guys confused. You're right.
John Lithgow is both culturally a doctor and culturally from England, in my mind. Even though he's from, I think, Ohio,
I think he's
technically.
From the Third Rock from the Sun.
Which is Planet Earth. I put that together years after that show went off the air. But anyway.
I'm learning it today.
So the Flashdance is a woman who I believe is working as a welder or in some kind of steel mill type of thing, but also has a dream of being a dancer. And it does and does some very cool dances, and the What a Feeling, that big the Flashdance song. I think the video is set in in an old industrial factory where she's dancing, and then this big thing of water unloads on her. But I don't know the plot.
Janet Jackson maybe did a video. No. There was a famous music video in the 90s that paid tribute to that.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, maybe Jennifer Lopez.
Maybe it was Jennifer Lopez.
But Flashdance is obviously more of a blind spot for me. I don't know a lot about. I don't think I've ever watched Flashdance, but I have definitely watched Footloose.
Footloose is the one that I couldn't think of the name of.
Yep.
Everybody get. Okay.
And that one's Kevin Bacon. He comes to he's like moves to this town. And the town is very Bible belty and very no dancing. And he loves dancing and he wants to be able to dance. And he gives this impassioned speech in front of the city council where he quotes David danced in the Bible. And he wins them over somehow. And but in the Jerry Orbach being a doctor is relevant in Dirty Dancing because the people that work at the Kellermans doing like leading the dance classes and all this stuff, there's basically the townies that work at the camp. And then the more well-to-do people that are visiting the camp. Baby, she's part of the well-to-do class. Her dad is a doctor, Jerry Orbach. But she, of course, falls for Patrick Swayze, even though he is a dance instructor at the camp and loves dancing and is part of this kind of, more working class local community. And somebody in that, I don't think, Patrick Swayze, I don't believe, is the biological, if you would say, parent or is not the person who got this person pregnant, but somebody had an unsafe, an unsafe abortion because it's not available. God, thank God that's changed here in 2026.
Yeah. Okay.
And Jerry Orbach comes and tends to her. So Baby
and that's
has
Dirty
this
Dancing. Okay.
Baby has this real dilemma, which is she's been cavorting with and fraternizing with the help at the summer camp, and now she has to go to her dad and say, I know how you feel about me mixing it up with these commoners, and you probably don't like me liking Patrick Swayze's character, but we need your help right now for you to come because someone has had an unsafe abortion and they are now in a really dangerous way medically. And he does. I believe the thing is Jerry Orbach actually is, he shows himself to love his daughter and to be more of, taking his Hippocratic oath more seriously than any being mad at her or being in trouble. That's also the movie where famously, I think Patrick Swayze says nobody puts Baby in a corner.
That's what that's from. When you said
and
her
that's
name
a reference
was
to her
Baby, I'm
character.
like, that must be what that's from.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's this great dance scene where it's like after hours. We're no longer doing the like Kellerman's. We're learning the cha-cha. This is where the actual local town people who are all very good at dancing are getting together for their own special locals only dance night. And I believe Baby is invited to this, and she brings a watermelon. She carries this watermelon all the way up to this house where the dance is. And then later when she's mad at him, she says, I carried a watermelon.
Oh, that's when she says that? Because I've heard that line so many times, and like, I don't know, like, literally every time Genevieve or I carry a watermelon, we say it. But I always
most of America.
I always thought that was. I thought that was her making awkward small talk. I always picture her holding a watermelon, coming into a party, not knowing what to say, and then making awkward small talk and just saying, I carried a watermelon. But no, she refers to it later as in, I did this labor for you, and it brings it up as a fight.
I don't know. Listen, here's where this is. I'm about to turn you into a real AI fan. I carried a watermelon. This is the AI overview. I carried a watermelon. It's one of the most delightfully awkward and iconic lines from Dirty Dancing. So they're calling it awkward.
That was.
So maybe you're right.
Why would I? Here, I'm looking for the.
I mean, I found the clip.
Okay, should we just do it? I mean, look, I would say that even without me watching this movie, we have made Annie's Blur's Day dreams come true, right? I mean, we discussed it. We discussed Dirty Dancing and more. Do you want to play
phrase is spoken by the character Baby Houseman when she awkwardly crashes a secret, there you go, after-hours party held by the resort's dance staff. Holding a large, heavy watermelon to contribute to the party, he tries to explain why she is there, blurting out, I carried a watermelon. I always thought it was that she was mad at Patrick Swayze later in the movie and was like, I carried a watermelon for you. But no, it's more, I think, what you suspected, Andrew.
See? The teacher becomes the student.
Yes, absolutely.
All of that is to say, happy birthday, Annie, from Megan and Baby and Jerry Orbach. Judy says, I will be celebrating my 77th birthday today. That is a golden Blur's Day by having a wisdom tooth extracted. She's getting a wisdom tooth extracted today on her 77th birthday. The older we get, the more practical.
Really waited on that one, Judes.
We are. I will be having this done in the same small city where the power went out on a colonoscopy I was having. Yes, I'm that Judy. Gosh. So while you are wishing me a happy birthday, wish me luck as well. Indeed.
Judy.
Happy birthday, Judy, and good luck.
That's, I guess, my theory is the power can't go out again. I was talking about how I always think things regress to the mean. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if the power went out once in that city while you're having a medical procedure, I think the chances are good that it won't happen a second time. That's
Unless
my theory.
Unless it's a city where the power goes out all the time. I mean, maybe they just have, I don't know, with the infrastructure.
Is she in Power Outage, Vermont?
Yes.
Where is she checking in?
Let's see here. Does this person leave their name? Yeah, here it is at the end. Okay, here we go. Hey, Aaron, happy birthday, friendo. I'm so glad that we've become friends through TBTL. I hope you have a fabulous day and that all your birthday wishes come true this year. From Terry. So happy birthday to Aaron from Terry. What if one of Aaron's birthday wishes was that we would talk about Flashdance and Dirty Dancing and Footloose? I got there. What do they say? Everybody
dreams come true.
Everybody blank Footloose. Everybody blank. I heard that song
everybody
so much.
Cut. Everybody
it is cut.
Footloose.
I thought I always sang it as cut, but then when I was starting to sing it before, I'm like, they can't be saying cut. What does that mean? Like cut a rug?
To cut Footloose is to, like, to cut loose, I guess, is what Kenny Loggins is trying to. That was when that was when Kenny Loggins couldn't stop shitting out gold records.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it sound like I think he's, he was crapping them out. They weren't good. I'm just trying to say Kenny Loggins couldn't miss.
Yeah.
He was doing the Caddyshack soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
He was doing Highway to the Danger Zone for the Top Gun.
Oh, my God. That's
Everybody
him too.
was
That's
cutting
right.
Footloose.
Oh, my
he
God.
was. We don't talk about this enough. I mean, actually, on this show, we talk about it too much. This is probably the 10th time I've brought this up. But, there was a period of time where it was Kenny Loggins' world when it came to movie soundtrack songs. We just lived in it.
Yeah. Yep. And then Peebo Bryson came along.
R.I.P. by the way, literally passed away last week.
Really? I don't think I heard that. Or maybe that's why he was so top of mind. But I do think of him as, if ever I'm in your arms again. It's not the best imitation in the world, but I do truly love that
your worst,
song.
though.
Yeah. Well, the worst is bad.
Well, he also, but you know what?
I didn't know
he was topping the charts. This is what I was reading in the Peebo Bryson. First of all, Peebo, not his real first name. He had a different name. Let's see here, but nobody could remember it, so he started going by Peebo. It was like one letter off.
Oh, really? I'm interested
it was
in this.
Peepo. So his name was Robert Peepo Bryson, like Peapo.
Oh.
But nobody could seem to figure that out. People had trouble with Peepo, so he just started going by Peebo.
Robert Peepo
Bryson.
Bryson. So it was his middle name.
But it wasn't even his name. His name was Peepo.
Yeah,
not
I
Peepo.
mean Peepo. Yeah, Robert Peepo Bryson. Interesting. Yeah.
But then he also
Go ahead.
he had this moment in the I think like late 80s, early 90s where he was just absolutely topping the charts with his R&B music, but then also did the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack with Celine Dion.
Yeah.
This all comes back to Jerry Orbach, by the way.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because I think of him as doing. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just thinking of Beauty and the Beast, but I thought he did. Did he do like Fievel Goes West or something like that as well? Did he?
No.
He wasn't one of the singers on the.
No, that was
big
somewhere
famous
out
duet.
there beneath the pale moonlight or something.
Yeah, and he wasn't on that.
I don't think so. But he also did A Whole New World. He did a version
that
of the
was
Aladdin
James
song, but
Ingram and Linda Ronstadt. Okay,
it
go
was
ahead, sir.
Stephen A. Smith.
I thought Peebo had a
but,
connection to the Fievel universe, but I guess not.
But Peebo, he did do Beauty and the Beast. I don't know if it's on the record or if it was in the movie or if it was like on like a record they released, but it was really popular. I think it got Record of the Year. And then he got Best Pop Performance by a duo or a group for doing A Whole New World with Regina Bell.
That's what I'm
and I feel like
thinking
his
of,
whole and I feel like
yes.
his but again, he's not the like if you watch Aladdin, he's not singing A Whole New World on the album. That's the the kid, because like Aladdin is singing A Whole New World. He's like a teenager. He's a street rat, riffraff. I don't buy that. But
If you had told,
but
you
there
know
was a
what?
period.
I'm now just realizing that A Whole New World is not a Fievel song. That I never saw
that's
Aladdin.
what the confusion
I always
is.
thought A Whole New World was related to the Mouse movies, right? That's
It would actually make more sense because Fievel, it's a sort of an immigrant tale, right?
I don't know.
It's actually more. It's more. Yeah, Fievel Goes West. He's kind of like he's a little mouse or something. I don't think I've seen it, but he's I think he comes in through like Ellis Island or something. Like he's got real kind of immigrant energy, old Fievel, and that would make more sense for A Whole New World. Whereas in the Aladdin movie, it's just Aladdin just telling Jasmine like, I'm gonna fly you around this city on a magic carpet and I'm gonna tell you about a whole new world, which my buddy Joe Dolan's older brother said was a song about losing your virginity.
Oh,
and he had a lot of data and research to back this up when he went away to college and we were still in high school. And he's like, that song is about losing your virginity. I was like, it would never be. It's Disney. He goes, well, if you think about the lyrics,
study it out.
That's all you do is study it out.
I see, because I always knew that Fievel Goes West was a sequel, or maybe you would even say a squeakquel. Because
okay, I don't think I knew that.
I did know
American Story or something.
An American Tale was the first one, and then American Tale Fievel Goes West, and that makes sense. So the first one is the Ellis Island story, an American. I'm assuming,
I see.
And then the second one would be like the next chapter in that American mythology, right? Of just like, well, let's head west. Okay,
that makes a lot of sense. Jimmy Stewart was one of the voices. Jimmy Stewart played in Fievel Goes West. Jimmy Stewart plays a character called Wiley Burp.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Like Wyatt Earp, but Wiley Burp.
No, I like that actually. Now I'm looking it up. What are the other? Fievel Mouskowitz is Fievel's full name. Did you know that?
I did know that.
You did, really? Oh, okay. And then
I knew that he was sort of like a Russian Jewish mouse.
John Cleese plays a character named Cat R. Wall or Catterwall.
Catterwall.
I like that. And then I'm looking for any other good little puns here. I do like Wiley Burp though. That's pretty good.
Wow. It was Amblimation, the short-lived Amblimation, which was a studio Steven Spielberg set up to keep the animators from Who Framed Roger Rabbit working.
Oh,
that was the animation studio that made An American Tale, Fievel Goes West.
Are you interested in this new Spielberg movie? It looks like kind of a return to form of like kind of aliens and stuff.
I am. I'm professionally interested in it because I'm also working on a story about UFOs right now, and we're going to use. We just the show just interviewed Spielberg for this movie Disclosure Day that he put out, and we're going to use some of the stuff they didn't use, like interviews with him, because one of the things I think is interesting about it is Steven Spielberg is a true believer. He's not just like there's some unexplained, phenomenon out there that we don't know what it was. He's like aliens walk among us. Like he legitimately believes that we have, extraterrestrials on this planet. And I think he's so interesting as a creative figure because if you think about it, maybe second only to like Ridley Scott or something. But not even second only. I'd say Ridley Scott would be maybe in second place with the movie Alien and Aliens. But like, think about if you just like tell a person, close your eyes and think of like an extraterrestrial or an alien, they're probably picturing something from a Steven Spielberg movie, whether it's Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Dreyfus building the Tower of Mashed Potatoes or E.T., or I'm forgetting some. I feel like he has created more of the pop culture mythology around what it would be for like non-human intelligence to visit us.
I saw one of our favorite. It wasn't Wint. It was the other guy, your friend. Who is it on Twitter/Blue Sky? The guy with the weird avatar, and it's like your friend.
Oh, Josh Letterman, old friend 99.
Old friend 99. He tweeted or he posted earlier today something like, they say that Jaws is so good because you hardly ever see the shark. That's why Spielberg's other movies are even better. You never see the shark. Thank you, old friend 99.
Nice.
Let's see. He did batteries not included. Did we run?
Oh,
this,
yeah.
We've run out of. This is unprecedented. We've run out of your best friend's music twice now. Though I already secretly have restarted this.
Oh,
once.
okay. That might be. That might be unprecedented.
Yeah. All right. I guess Super 8 was that an alien movie?
I don't know. I don't think.
No. Okay. Anyway, we got to get out of this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm dragging my feet here. We have one final Blur's Day here on the list.
Oh.
It's from Anne in Polsbo, who says, happiest of Blur's Days to my 10 pal Emma in Sydney. I hope your birthday adventure in Christchurch was everything you dreamed it would be. Here's to another year of sharing nature pics and life updates from opposite ends of the earth. Happy Blur's Day.
Wow.
Emma.
That really hurt.
I know that's not Australian, but it's the closest accent to an Australian accent I had on this soundboard.
Well, also, well, maybe this is too much information, but I do think that Emma has bitten Charlie's fingers. No, wait.
Yes.
Not Charlie's fingers. Charlie's the finger biter in that case. But
Charlie
Emma,
is the finger biter.
Yeah, Emma goes around. I don't want to say. We said
can't
too
rule
much,
her out.
But Emma,
really
Emma has bitten a lot of fingers in her day.
Yeah, we can't rule her
out. A scourge, actually.
Yeah.
All right. That was fun. What? How long have we been recording? It feels like we're in a long show. Long show today. Did you say days?
No, I said days and confused.
Like days, yeah.
No closer to knowing what the deal is with Hit Boy, but we've given it our best try. I'll have to look into that on my next trip down here because I will be heading home tonight, and then tomorrow we'll be joining you from the Madrone Hill studio, where we, Andrew, will have a big announcement.
That's
about
right.
The fun.
That's right. Everybody tune in tomorrow. John.
Lifelong Knicks fan John Sklaroff will be
That's
with us.
right. And so let's see here. There will not be any more basketball played before he joins us tomorrow, right? No, because there will not be a game tonight.
I think Saturday is the next game.
Okay, sounds good. So he will still be, no matter, nothing.
And I'm sure
can
we'll have a
break
lot
his
of corrections for the things that I said today.
I think we got it pretty much right.
Mostly about Dirty Dancing.
I'm looking for a song to play here. How about this? This is Sunrise from a Moonbeam. I have no idea.
Beautiful.
There we
from
go.
From An American Tale 3. Fievel
Goes
realizes
back
the
east.
West. A little overrated.
It's like Fievel hates L.A. Going back to New York
American
City.
Tale 4.
The only real
Fievel buys
city.
Knicks tickets. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. In the meantime, have a great Thursday. Take care of yourselves. Go Mariners. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.